we got 24 hours.
That was it, back onto another ship and...
Back onto the same ship. If, like, when we arrived here, as a matter of fact, they brought the 2nd 14th and 2nd 27th in, they were Victorian, New South Wales, South Australian, brought them in the day before, and we were left outside, and they brought us in and gave us 24 hours leave. Now, a big percentage of those chaps came from the Great Southern, the South-West, Kalgoorlie, the North-West, and gave them 24 hours leave. So, in consequence, a lot of them didn't go back in 24 hours. So, actually, when I went east, I went on the Monterey, a big Yankee liner, which there were, I think, 200 or 300 of us on that from the unit. I forget how many. But it was most of the people on it were evacuees from Singapore, civilian and 8th Army chaps, because the 8th Army went to Singapore, like the 8th Division at least, 6th, 7th and 9th went to the Middle East, the 8th Division went to Singapore. And, well, these chaps being on it was quite handy for our blokes, because I think we were given £2 spending money. I don't know what you're going to spend on, but a lot of these soldiers from the 8th Division had a lot of money with them. It was all brand new. No one quizzed where they got it from, but they were all brand new. And our blokes, I'd say, conned them into playing 2-up and dice. So much so that some of our blokes had so much money that when they hit Adelaide, they went adrift again. Yeah, they must have ripped so much up. But the trip over on that, when we went over to Queen Mary, we were in E-Deck. And I remember seeing a sign up on the side of this, it wasn't a cabin, just a big open space. Trying to think of the word. For eight able seamen. The space was great, and there were 32 of us there, and hummocks and below it, so it wasn't the best. And coming home on the Kosciuszko, it was a shocking trip. Keith probably said something about it. The food was terrible, and bully beef and biscuits was the only decent stuff. And but when we went to on the Monterey, my brother and another chap and I had a 4-berth cabin between the three of us. And the first meal aboard it was roast pork. The next night it was roast chicken or something. And of course, unlike us getting the food in a Dixie, they had a stainless steel tray with the meat there, the veggies there and all this. And I remember the Yankee lieutenant coming to us afterwards, or officer, and said, "How you guys like our chow?" I said, "Oh, this is great." I think they say there were, I forget how many of us, say there were 200. They had 200 returns because it's our guys are still complaining. But that's how it was, wasn't it? We had pretty hard rations. They were looked after pretty well. So anyway, we landed in Adelaide. Went into camp in Springbank for a while, and then we were in train to Guinea in New South Wales. Pretty cold place up there, in tents, and our tent was the closest to the mess. And you didn't have an early morning parade. You just lay there till it was time to the end of the mess. But you had to break the ice on the top of your bucket of water outside before you could have a wash. And we were in camp there for a while, and then we entrained up to Maroochydore. Went up to Maroochydore, which is on the Sunshine Coast, as you know now, about 60, 70 miles north of Brisbane. And we did our training, and then in Maroochydore.
That was the jungle training camp?
Yeah, well, supposedly, yeah. It was some of that we did quite a bit of river crossing where you'd wrap all your gear up in your ground sheet and swim across and push in front of you. Some of the blokes, being like Australians are, they found a dinghy and rowed across in it, but that's just how Australians are. I think they had a bit of a grumble at them for not swimming across, but still, if there was a boat there, why not use it? When we first hit Maroochydore, the troops weren't the most popular people in the town, because prior to us being there, they'd had a lot of rather young CMF lads there, and I think they had misbehaved there and done a bit of damage. But our blokes got on so well that, in fact, I think 3 of our chaps even married Maroochydore girls, and they even erected a building for us, a reading, and I use the expression reading and writing, because I think I put an article on the Pigeon Post once about our orderly room corporal who couldn't pronounce his R's properly. And when we came back from training this day, he had to weed the routine orders for the day to the extent that the residents of Moir had a whack at a weeding and whiting room for the use of the troops. But this is what they did for us because we got in so well with them there. Yeah. We trained there and did a lot of route marching to toughen us up. Not really, apart from river crossings, not a great amount of, as it turned out, real jungle training. We had to use saplings or trees for cover.
People were saying you did some pretty big marches.
Long marches. I loved it. I was quite happy with that. I've always been a walker and I loved the marches. I thought they were great, you know. Don't know how far we marched, maybe 20 miles a day, but it was that was something I really always did enjoy that. I suppose that toughened your legs up a bit for what we had to go through when we went up to New Guinea. So after, I forget just how many weeks or months we were in Maroochydore, then we were embarked on the James Wilson, a Liberty ship. They were the first ships built on their side instead of upright. And they reckon if they made one trip and back, they'd served their purpose. That's how cheap they were to make. And I remember on board this one we're heading for Moresby, having a look around, said to one of the crew, you don't have many lifeboats about here? He said, no, guy. He said, if we get hit, you won't want a lifeboat, you want a parachute.
All the fuel?
That was it wasn't fuel. I'll tell you about that too. That was to come down again. Day or so out, we were domiciled in the tween decks, you know, like in a hatch of a ship, you have the lower hold and the tween decks. We were domiciled in the tween decks with our gear. And we were asked this day to move our gear under the coamings because they had to go down below and do something. So we had the sticky beak down there were our trucks down there full of ammunition and explosives. So that's why we were in the parachute.
How did you feel after spotting
that?
What do you do?
Well, didn't worry. I mean, I'm not just saying this, it's not a matter of being brave or boasting. That was just part of life. That was part of your army life. Another odd thing about, well, I suppose the odd thing about this, being a cargo ship, and I don't know, I suppose the whole of our battalion on it, probably 500, 600, I don't know. The only ablutions you had on it were 2 horse troughs. They had one big horse trough down that side of the ship. And the big, you know what a horse trough is, Graham? In the old days when you had horses instead of cars, all the towns had a horse trough for them to get a drink at. And we had 2 of these long horse troughs. One was for washing and that in. I won't tell you what the other was for because that was the other side of the ablutions.
And they would have been concrete ones, were they? Or
no, I think they were just metal ones put there. Imagine in this day and age, even the army going away under those conditions. That was how it was until we got to Moresby.